Hello, everybody. I am Leslie from Brown Girls Embrace, and tonight we have a special guest. She's a psychologist, a t shirt brand owner. So let's get started for the Queen's Talk. The Queen's Talk, where we honor and celebrate women on their self love journey, where we share our stories about how we overcame past trauma and where we are now. Welcome to the Queen's Talk, Queens. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well today.
That's good. How was your day?
My day was pretty chill today. Apart from having like a headache, which I typically will get sometimes, it's been pretty good.
Okay. Is it health reasons? Health?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into the self-care conversation. Go ahead and introduce your name and where you're from.
Hi, so I am Kimmy Huntley. I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. Was born in Oxford, Mississippi. Grew up most of my life in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so that's home, I guess. People say don't say where you were born if you really weren't raised there. So yeah,
oh,
yeah,
I don't really go by that. If I was
yeah,
born there, I'm from there.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway, before we get into this conversation, you are a psychologist and a t-shirt brand owner. So tell us why you got started. Like, take us back to the beginning of your brand's with the t-shirt line for us. Because I know that's where you originally got started. So take us, and it was called a self-care t-shirt line. That's what I like.
Mhm.
So take us back of why you even started that journey of your t-shirt brand.
Absolutely. So I'm actually a psychotherapist, um, not a psychologist because that's
Oh,
different.
sorry.
I don't want to. I
Psycho.
want to
Okay.
put respect on their name as well, but no,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. I'm
Okay.
a therapist, aka counselor.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, my t-shirt line I started in 2017. So at the time, being a new clinician, I was doing everything, and everything for me meant marriage counseling, couple, relationship counseling. It was adult, sessions one on one. It was family sessions. It was child. It was teenage, teenagers. So yeah, I was trying to do everything. I didn't have a niche, so I experienced burnout in early 2017.
Mhm.
And so my supervisor at the time, who I was working for, actually was the one that introduced self care to me. Like she actually said those words, and I was like, okay, what is this, and how do I get on board, right? So, like I mentioned before, in 2017, no one was really talking about self care,
Mhm.
and I had to explore what this meant for me. And so I was sitting on the couch, pregnant and all, and literally the idea came to my mind. Um, and I had a phrase, it's not selfish, it's called self care. And I was like, what if I put that on a t shirt?
Mm.
And my husband was like, you should do it, just do it. So once I got the green light from him, I was like, let's just do it. Literally sprung into action. I put action to the things I was saying, reached out to a screen printer. Um, and then obviously that's just how it started. And then t-shirt line started, and then t-shirt sales boosted, and that opened the doors for other opportunities, other speaking engagements, and other vendor opportunities as well. So
Yeah. And I like that fact that you started a t-shirt line because we all well, I got into t-shirt lines a lot during the pandemic because it was like a loungewear. Like, let me just throw on this t-shirt real quick. And it was just chill Aaron type of shirt or whatever. But the shirt set messages, like I got like some shirts from Amazon. It was like type dye wanted, type diabetic friend or um I sell shea butter, so it's just like put some shea butter on it. So I love like t-shirts that have statements on it because it really catches people's attention. So what was the feedback you got from the attention from your t-shirts?
oh yeah, it actually blew my mind because I didn't. I guess I underestimated the power of like a good messaging,
Hmm.
and then for people to really resonate with the message, right? I think that's really what it was. People saw themselves in the message. It's not selfish. It really is not selfish at all. It's actually the opposite of that. So yeah, it actually blew my mind, like how people were really sold and wanted these teas and they were just sold out. And I was just like, oh, yeah, this is a thing. Let me keep
Oh
going.
yeah. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. So you were talking to me earlier about an event you was at and they asked you to speak. Tell me how that went. Like when they approached you like, "Hey, we love your t-shirt. Can
Hmm.
you want to speak for us?"
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband is good friends with a guy so that knows Daryl Walls from the Walls group. And so he reached out to me via DM on
Mhm.
Instagram. And through the friend, he was able to get a little bit of background information about me, but then we spoke, you know, via DM. And he asked if I would be open to being a vendor at his conference. And so I do have family in Houston, so it wasn't, that big of a um, deal for me to be there, I guess, right? But the timing, you had to make sure everything was right for us as a family to travel. But yeah, so he reached out. He had an idea. He wanted me to be a vendor, and his actual conference was surrounding mental health, all things wellness, and then God. And so those things intertwined. It was just a perfect opportunity for me to just either connect with him and build relationships with people, and then I had a lot of teacher sales at his conference. Like that also blew my mind. And
Wow.
it was a great turnout. Like,
Mhm.
just him trusting me enough to be there and for him to just be very open, to
Mhm.
that. So, yeah.
Okay. So then you started to speak. How was that first speaking engagement like? Because I know you said you really, really don't like to be in front of crowds like that. Tell me how it was that like speaking in a crowd of people about the message that you had that came from a t-shirt. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think what's also really helpful is because I am a therapist, like,
Mhm.
I'm always gonna connect it to, mental, emotional health, right? And so is the message is it runs real deep for me. So people have questions, right? So my first speaking engagement, from what I remember, it went well. Um, and I remember what year was it? 2020 or may have been 2019 or 2020. I told God, I was like, this is a year of yes. If someone asks me to speak, I'm just going to say yes. Whereas I might turn it down because, well, I don't know if I want to do this, right? So I just say yes to everyone who asks me to speak on a
Oh
panel,
wow.
to speak somewhere for a few minutes or 30 minutes, I say yes. And so, again, you do things more than once or you do things consistently, you start to refine whatever that gift is, right?
Yeah, I guess you.
So yeah, I think for me it happened that way where I was introduced to speaking and then I got to feel a little bit more comfortable with it. So but I do remember my first one being a little bit nerve-wracking, but it actually ended up really well. Like it turned out great. Yeah.
Yeah. Were there people coming after you spoke?
Wanting sessions, yeah. They wanted a counselor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Which is always kind of expected, when they know,
Oh,
oh,
it
you're
is.
a
Okay.
counselor. Mhm.
Oh, okay. I know when you say something that's powerful and people are motivated by it, people want to talk more about it because they just like you pour so much life into them, they want to keep the conversation going. So I know that had to be a good feeling, like, oh wow, I inspired somebody now they want to keep talking.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does so after that so were you working with a company or you working for yourself as a psycho?
So starting out, I worked for an organization, a group agency, and then I ventured out into my own private practice. This is 2015. So I've been in private practice since 2015.
Okay.
Um,
Eh,
yeah.
what do you want to like when you have your coaching sessions? What makes you different? Like how does your coaching session usually go? Because I know we're in the self love and the you're a therapist. You really genuinely want to help people. What does a
Mhm.
self care? I mean, session look like? Not self care. What does a session look like for you when you are in session with people?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I am all about building rapport. I feel
Okay.
like if there is not a good connection or a good rapport with your therapist, it usually impacts how the sessions are going to be. Like if you don't trust me, if you don't feel the right vibes, you know what I'm saying? Like it could actually throw off the client counselor relationship. So I'm all about rapport building, like not necessarily trying to be your friend, but being a safe space for you, right? Um, if that makes sense. I know it sounds harsh,
I
but
got
like,
you.
you know what
I
I'm
got you.
saying?
I'm in therapy. I know.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. So like just making sure like you feel comfortable, you feel safe. And so I will approach you very, very personable. Like my clients know I'm like an open book. You can ask whatever questions you want. And I tell them like we essentially can't heal what you're not revealing. So like they know this too. But I usually don't have any issues with clients like opening up because, for whatever reason they just kind of like they feel very comfortable. And I pride myself on making sure that this space is safe for you. So I'm the rapport building is first for me, and then offering empathy. I'm very big on empathy,
Hmm.
very even in my personal life. Like I
Hmm.
need that from any relationship that I'm in. Um, so yeah, so I think my sessions, going back to your question, my sessions go like this. I'm rapport building. I'm doing assessments, like all the logistical things first, but you're always going to feel very safe with me. Like I'm not judgy. I'm not judgmental. I'm very direct, and my clients can appreciate that. Like I'm a truth teller and a truth seeker, and so I can lovingly tell you the truth
Yeah, I
without
like that.
without you being offended.
Yeah, you have to use tact.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. It's a time and place for everything too. Some things don't need to be said, some things need to be. And so, yeah, my clients know this. And from there, we can definitely dive into deeper conversations, which they're very open to doing too.
Mm.
But yeah, I meet with my clients weekly,
Mhm.
starting out, and then try triage down to bi-weekly, and then triage down to monthly, and then they're ready to be discharged.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
that goes for me, yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So during the pandemic 2020, 2021, 20, well, we just got into 2023.
Yeah.
During those months, I know a lot of people was seeking therapy. And especially women. What did you notice that was kind of common in women when it came to self-care when you were taking clients during the pandemic?
Like a common issue as
Yeah.
to,
Hmm.
yeah, why they are not practicing self-care maybe.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, could that be it? Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't like,
Yeah.
but I guess that's common. That
Yeah, it was very common. Like it was a mixture of like men and women, but yeah, I would definitely say more women reached out definitely during the pandemic. But I was really dealing with clients who were dealing with anxiety and depression, and
that's what I did with. Mhm.
yeah, and trauma, to be honest.
Mhm.
So, and those are actually my three areas of expertise. So,
Mhm.
I had a lot of clients who were dealing with anxiety and depression, and for mothers who were not already practicing self care, and then during the pandemic, even more so recognize, okay, yeah, my cup is completely done. It's empty.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we had to talk about a self care routine. What does that look like for you and your family? How can your whole family and support each other as you're developing your self care routine, like getting what you need, right? Um, so yeah, I had a lot of conversations about that for real. But with women specifically, I noticed a lot of anxiety issues, depression, um, and if they were mothers, I noticed that they just had a lack of like support, or they felt like they had a lack of support, and then also just not having any type of self-care routine in place. So honestly, some of them feeling guilty for wanting to take care of themselves. um,
Mhm. Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yep.
it was a lot of processing through those things, like feeling guilt, letting
Wow.
the guilt and shame go. You're allowed to take care of yourself, and honestly, your kids, if I'm speaking to the mothers, your kids don't care about you being a perfect mom. They care about you being a happy mom. Out
Mhm.
the overflow of the happiness is what they receive. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
they're happy, they're joyful, they're able to play, they're able to just kind of be themselves, be kids, not worrying about.
Yeah, I have two things to say.
Mhm.
When a child goes through a lot with their parents, of course they want their parents to be happy because they're gonna out take the anger out on them. So of course, like if you're unhappy, that means everybody else around you is unhappy because you decided that you don't want to go get the help that you need. So why don't you do yourself a favor and your people that you love a favor and go see some help? Because I know a lot of people are against therapy. I don't know why they're ashamed or stigma, but when you look for others for validation and love and happiness, but you're not really giving it to yourself, like you're not making a happy life,
Mhm.
for you and your kids.
Yeah, but and then it's hard too if therapy is not easily accessible for them.
Yeah, I get.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's a barrier, right? Now, luckily, we a lot of us have moved to just virtual, sessions, which I have. Like, I'm completely virtual now. I was
Okay.
kind of doing the hybrid thing for a while, but I'm completely virtual.
Mhm.
But just even financially, having the means to be able to see a therapist weekly, so there's certain things that will need to be talked through, or like certain like organizations that could offer maybe like a few sessions here and there.
Oh,
Um,
so there's organizations that offer free help?
there are, last time I checked, sometimes there'll be like interns at
Okay.
an actual organization that might offer very low cost sessions, or at one point in time, because where I'm from, there's a college that offers, I think it's like 4 sessions for free at a university. So it just depends. Like, it's one of those things where you have to look into like your local resources just to see if that's a possibility.
Really good to know because I know a lot of people cannot afford insurance because they don't have insurance, first of all,
Yeah.
have the access to it, or but that's really great to know for
Yeah.
any about
Hmm.
that. Yeah. And the other question when we were talking about, you said that a lot of your clients that make time for self-care. Now, self-care can be a wide list of things. But what is making time for self-care? Because some people can be like, oh, getting my hair done is time for self-care, or my nails done. But I personally don't feel like getting your hair. I think that's maintenance, like, because I'm a hairstylist, so and I know how it is to crazy run around and do hair, and that's just what we got to do to keep ourselves up as a woman. But
Hmm.
what do you consider to be like health self care?
Yeah, so self care is anything that you are actively doing to refresh your mind, body, soul, and spirit. Anything that
Yeah.
makes you feel centered and grounded. And to be honest with you, a lot of us do things that are self care related, but we don't call it self care because, again, we're just used to doing it, like getting our hair done. I don't
Yeah.
think before 2018 we called it self care. It was just
Yeah.
something that we did to look good, or something that
Exactly.
made us feel good. But it made you feel good. That was the end result, right?
Hmm.
And not that you have to chase that per se, but again, when we talk about self care, it doesn't have to be things that money can buy. It can
Hmm.
really be an internal working, right? So having an attitude of gratitude is self care. Self love is self care, right?
Hmm.
Challenging your negative thoughts and narratives is self care.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think breathing exercises are self care. Yoga, exercise, it's self care, right? Because it essentially provides a resource spot for you, which makes you feel centered and grounded and whole, or makes you feel good. It's self care. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think a lot of people kind of commercialize this term, and
Yeah.
they look for the massages, they look for the nail appointments, they look for the hair appointments, right? Which is great. If you have the means to do it, by all means.
Hmm.
But like, it's also the things that money can't buy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But you know what self care is to me, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
Self care to me is setting boundaries.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and staying away from people that make me unhappy. If I'm not comfortable around you, or if I don't like the energy, toxic relationships, getting away from toxic energy, that's self care. Like, I care about myself not to be in a mental space that I'm unhappy. And I found myself before I started my self love journey and everything like that. And before the pandemic, I was in a lot of spaces that made me unhappy. And I was like, well, why am I allowing myself to be mentally distraught or whatever I was going through? I don't know the right word.
Yeah.
Because that's not really fair to myself to be in an unhappy place. I'll work hard. I make these little coins. I'm not going to spend my money to be around people that make me unhappy. And that's what I had to realize. If I love myself, I have to start treating myself better and surrounding myself and setting boundaries. The pandemic really opened up my mind to a lot about what self care is. And like you said, it wasn't materialistic. It was, for me, it was mental and what I was going to do to make myself happy. I know you said you mentioned you do a lot of DIY things. If
Mhm.
that makes you happy, that's self care.
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. And then speaking of boundaries, like for a lot of people, they believe that boundaries are kind of like a wall between you and another. Um, and I think, contrary to popular belief, boundaries are actually used to preserve the relationship, right?
Hmm.
Believe it or not. So any boundary that you set is really honestly to preserve that relationship, because at the end of the
Mm.
day, I want to still like you, but I need
Oh,
to have this
wow.
boundary in place so that I can still like you at the end of the day, right? So like
I
even
like the way you said that.
yeah, even with my mom, I have a boundary with my mom, and it's hardest to set
I
boundaries.
need to get one with my mom too.
Yeah. It's hardest to set boundaries with people that you know, like i.e. family and friends. But like honestly, sometimes you need it in order to preserve that relationship.
Yeah. How did your, because I know a lot of us, our moms, I'm a millennial. I know our moms really don't believe in therapy and boundaries. Like, what do you like? What is this you talking about? So how did your mom respond to that?
With me setting the boundary or me being a therapist.
Um, Either one, whatever you want to, but I really was talking about boundaries.
Oh, okay, yeah. So she doesn't really care about me being a therapist. Not
Oh.
really. She's just like, oh, that's just your job, right? Um, but with boundaries, and it wasn't that I actually communicated the exact boundary with her, but it was more so. I would say I think she understood, because there are certain things that I would not talk to her about. That is my
Mhm.
emotional boundary with her. Like there's certain topics that are just off
Yeah.
topic. Like I just will not bring this up with you because it's just not going to end well. So yeah, I think she learned over time. Sometimes you may need to communicate your boundary. Sometimes you don't, to be honest with you. And for her, I don't think I needed to.
Mhm.
Have there been times where I had to communicate what I will not put up with? Absolutely. But like as far as the boundary goes, I think she understood, okay, yeah, this is the thing. I just need to fall in line. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for I guess mothers that grew up in the 70s, it's hard for them to be like, no, like we don't do that. Like that's not how we were raised. And
Mm-mm.
it's like
No.
becoming and breaking a cycle and therapy and soft parenting. And they're like, what are you doing? Like,
All right.
but
Yeah.
I feel like we're growing because we're so used to in a place to take abuse, mental abuse, like you said. I think you were talking about mental abuse earlier. We're so used to taking mental abuse from way back when that we carried it on. And now it's like, no, we grown, we're better than that. We can talk to each other better. We can have respect for each other. We can use our words verbally. We can communicate. It comes with a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you tell your 15-year-old self? I know we were just talking about the mom situation, and now that you are a therapist now as a therapist, what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
That's a good one. I tell her a lot of things, but I think one thing I will tell my 15-year-old self is like my feelings are not facts. Like because we
Mm,
feel so deeply, like we feel all the things, right? But
we do.
sometimes
I do.
yeah, sometimes our feelings can be so strong and overpowering that we believe it to be true and it's really
Mm.
not. And so I would tell my 15-year-old self, because I was a little emotional, all of my feelings are not factual. They are not. It's not an if,
Whoa.
they're a fact. Yeah.
Wow. I should that's very bold and honest for you to say that. I probably need to tell myself the same thing because I'm still very emotional. And I was like, but I'm just emotional. But
Yeah. Hmm.
it takes a lot of courage and a lot of humbleness to admit that. Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
not all of my emotions are true.
Yeah.
Because we a lot of my guys friends be like, you be creating stuff that's not real. And I'm like,
Yeah. Because
yeah.
it's honestly a cognitive distortion. That's what we call it. Like because
Mm,
it's not backed by anything factual or substantial. Like you we feel so deeply, like I said, and we just feel like, okay, because I feel this way, it must be true. Right. That's an irrational belief. Right. Because if you actually checked it out, if you actually challenge that with facts, like where's your hardcore evidence that supports that your thoughts are true?
yeah. Where's the documentation?
Yeah, where are your receipts?
Right.
Metaphorically speaking, where are the receipts? Because
Mhm.
we do that.
Yeah, we do. And what do you do for self-care?
Oh, I do a lot of things. So
Mhm,
I do work out. Like I work out like 4 to 5 times a week. That is
mhm,
literally a part of my routine. After I drop my son off, I go to the gym and start my day. Um,
mm.
yeah, so I do that, but I also like to do crafts. So this is where the DIY comes in. I thoroughly enjoy doing my own nails. I thoroughly enjoy painting at my house. I
Oh,
thoroughly
wow.
enjoy it. So just doing anything, even like making my t-shirts and sweatshirts, I actually do that now myself. I don't delegate. I do it myself, and that brings me joy. So that's
Wow.
good for me. Um, and so also hanging out with friends. I actually joined a run social club. That's what my husband
Mm.
call it. He thinks it's a social club, but it's a run club. But we also socialize. I do that once or twice a week. So yeah, community is important to me, especially in this season of my life. But also eating healthy foods is self care for me.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I agree.
um, my diet is totally different. Like I don't eat meat. The only thing I eat is fish, like salmon or shrimp occasionally. I do not eat chicken, beef, or anything like that. So my diet
Mm.
really shifted and changed. So that is a form of self care for me. Also, listening to music, uh,
Mhm.
and then sleep, relaxing, making sure
Mhm.
I have my quality time where I'm not doing anything that requires me to use all of my mental capacity. So this is where I literally just I'm unplugging, right? Um, for the day. So yeah, that is a form of self care for me. I'm probably forgetting a few more things, but these are the things that come to mind for me right now.
That's beautiful, but I wanna go back to what you said about your diet. Um, what you eat is what comes out. So if you put in junky food, that's what's gonna come out, and that's how your mind is gonna be cluttered and full
Yeah.
with all this crazy stuff. So the working out, the eating properly, putting the right food in your diet, like you feel so much better because your body's a temple. And that's another thing I realized on the pandemic. I'm a diabetic too. So, but
Okay.
your body is a temple, and you if you want to live a long healthy life, you have to put the right foods inside your body, and you have to be active and use those bones and work out. Because and my I went to my doctor's office today, my doctor today, and she told me I need to do more yoga because yoga releases the tension in your because I have anxiety and depression. It releases the tension in your bones. And
Mhm.
I've done like black girl yoga on YouTube during the
Okay.
pandemic when I have like things that make me nervous. And I promise you, I feel so much calm after I finish.
Good. Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually attempted to do yoga. I need to
Mhm.
be more consistent in it. I know it's really helpful, but it's just for me, I'd rather go to the gym. That's like
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah,
yeah.
both is good because I used to have a trainer during the pandemic. I need to get her back, but I had a trainer during the pandemic, but I was also going on YouTube and just doing the
Yeah.
yoga on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, where can everybody find you? Like what the platforms and how can they book a session with you and your t-shirt and all those good things?
Yes. So for like self care Bell, anything self care related, my Instagram is self care Bell. That and Bell is spelled Belle. And then for my counseling, it's Huntley Counseling Group. So at
It's a
Huntley
group.
Counseling Group. So if they want to book a session or if they want to reach out to me to possibly do a consultation, they can go to at Huntley Counseling Group. But Self Care Bell is all self care related things and posts and T-shirts and all the things that come.
Oh, okay, cool. Do you still do pop-ups and stuff like that selling your t-shirts or you just online now?
Um, I haven't done one since the pandemic.
Mhm.
I haven't since it started in 2020. So we'll see what 2023 brings because I came out with new merch.
Oh, nice. I gotta check it out. I
Yeah,
definitely
this
have to check
month.
it out.
Hmm.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you so much, Kimmy, for coming. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Bye.